Welcome to Break the Mould with Anwyn. I'm here today with Nicole Forgione, and we are going to be discussing all things about hormones and menopause as I'll let her describe what she does. So welcome. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks, Anwyn. Thank you for having me. I've been really looking forward
Pleasure.
to this. Yeah. So I am, as Anwyn said, Nicole, and I am a nutritionist. I'm a personal trainer. I've also done some NLP practitioner, neuro-linguistic programming. It's a bit of a mouthful. And I've also done hypnotherapy. So I help women over 40 understand their hormones so they can lose weight, reduce their menopausal symptoms by changing the way they eat, think, and feel about themselves. So that's
Brilliant.
what I love doing. Yeah.
And does that come from personal experience?
Yeah, I guess, as I was heading towards my 50s myself,
Mm.
that I really started to look into it, and I thought, this is something that I would love to know more about so I can support women. And I also found that a lot of women didn't know who to talk to,
Yeah.
didn't know who to ask. They might go to the doctor and sometimes they're fobbed off as, oh, it's, everyone. And yes, everyone does go through menopause and it's not a disease. It's just a natural part of life. But I found that women weren't getting answers, or if they had symptoms, they were not being taken seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and because, I'm, like I said, I'm almost 52, and I thought,
So have you started? Are you in menopause, do you think?
no, I'm not.
Okay.
Menopause itself, and again, a lot of people don't understand, is actually menopause is, when you look at it, is actually only one day. And that marks the day where you've gone 12 consecutive months without a period.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you're in menopause, and then menopause itself, when you look at it like that, is that one day that symbolizes or marks that 1 year
Mhm.
consecutive without a period. So if you were to go 11 months without a period and then have a period, then you start counting day one from that day.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not a stop and start. So as soon as it has to be a full 12 months without a period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
in my circumstance, I've actually had a hysterectomy, so it's
yeah.
been a bit tricky to work out, but I mean, I
Yeah.
believe it
Okay.
happened. Yeah.
Yes. So did you have your ovaries taken out?
No, they don't do that. But they did take out the fallopian tubes. They do that
Okay.
now. They never used to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had that done as well.
And so do you think your level of fitness affects that? When you get it, how bad you get it?
No, not really. I think not necessarily fitness, but your health, because some
Mm.
people can do fitness, but they're not healthy.
Yes, true.
I know so many people, and I've probably been guilty of it myself, is going to the gym, but then going home and having a couple of wines, which is
Yes.
nothing wrong with that, but then
Mm.
going overboard as well sometimes. So I think the biggest thing for women and their hormone and symptoms is two things that we really overlook: is stress
Yes,
and lack of sleep.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they can kind of go hand in hand, because
Yes,
if you're
because
not,
menopause can actually cause lack of sleep
yeah, and then
and
that
cause the
makes
stress.
you more, susceptible to stress. And then if
Mm.
you're stressed about things, it can be difficult to sleep. So it's sort of a
That's
catch
right.
22. So when I work with women, I really focus on their sleep and making
Mm.
sure, because sleep is number one. If you're not getting
Absolutely.
enough sleep, everything suffers. Your mental
Yes.
health, your physical health, your emotional health.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
and
there's so many amazing benefits to sleep. It's for your immune system as well.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Concentration, you feel better. You actually, when you have enough sleep, you're less likely to overeat as well, because
That's true.
when we're tired, it can be easy to reach for high energy foods because we feel like we need energy when actually what we really need is to have sleep.
Yeah, and they say that, like, when you're on a flight, and they come around with the food at, some ungodly hour, like 3
Yeah,
AM, and you eat it because it's there, but, actually you're tired, but you think you're hungry. So your
yeah,
body tells you mixed messages. So they're just feeding you just to satisfy the need for sleep.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And they also say that, sleep, actually, you can lose weight in sleep.
Yeah, well, if you're getting enough sleep, then your body is working well,
Mm,
your body's in homeostasis. If you're not getting enough sleep, yeah, that can affect your ability to lose weight, mainly because of those food cravings.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely sleep. And there's so many women who are on, surviving on 4 or 5 hours, and it's
Mm,
just not enough. So many people I know will say they're only having 4 or 5 hours. And ideally we need between 7 and 9. So
yes.
myself, I'm 7. As I'm going, in perimenopause, I probably feel like I need about 8 now, whereas
Yeah.
before, if I had 8 hours sleep, I would be more tired.
Mm.
Whereas now I can have 8 hours sleep and that feels good.
And so explain perimenopause, because I think
Okay, so
it's a bit confusing, isn't it, for
it
some
is,
people?
yeah. So peri is the lead up to menopause, and
Mhm.
it can actually last, it usually lasts between, 2 to 5 years, but for some women, it can start in their early 40s and go all the way through. The average age of menopause is 52. So it
Okay.
can go all the way through to there. And that it can be a little bit confusing because a lot of the symptoms of menopause are symptoms of other conditions as well. So it's
Yes.
not uncommon. Well, I won't say it's not unheard of for a woman in her late 30s to be in perimenopause. But because of her age, it's often overlooked. And
Mm,
yeah, definitely. Usually perimenopause, there is no test to diagnose perimenopause, even though it's not a disease. So usually it goes by age and symptomology. So
mhm.
if I'm going into the doctors and I'm 45 and I'm having night sweats and a lot of the symptoms that come with perimenopause, then they're probably going to say it's perimenopause. If I'm 35 and I'm going to the doctor with a lot of the symptoms of perimenopause, but I'm 35, they're it's most likely going to be put down to something else.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember my doctor told me, well, there was night sweats. I think night sweats is probably isolated to menopause. I wouldn't imagine there'd be many things that would be caused by.
Yeah, yeah,
But
true.
but
Yeah.
so many other things like sleep and, you know, pins and needles in your hands and all sorts of funny things, and you just think, well, that could be anything really.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are so many unusual symptoms that you don't even think that until afterwards. You might think, oh, maybe you're tying it together. But yeah, there's some really odd symptoms. Itchy skin is one of them,
Mhm.
and feeling like you've got a, I don't know, just your skin's crawling. What's another? Oh, itchy ear.
Oh.
Yeah, which I actually get sometimes, but it doesn't bother me too much when I'm sleeping.
Oh,
Other unusual symptoms, forgetfulness, and which is not that unusual. But yeah, there's a lot of bizarre. That you think, wow, I wouldn't have thought that would be. But, the
Mm,
body is amazing, and it's so, y
yes.
yeah, as you know, it's
And
just
I mean, that's like all hormones in our body too. Like when we have a baby, like they say, you get forgetful then,
yeah,
your baby brain.
yeah, yeah,
um,
baby. I still think I'd
um,
still do that
and I think a lot
forever.
of that, and that's probably to do with the sleep too, because you get a lot of sleep
Yeah,
deprivation because you're just looking after
exactly.
a child, waking up in the middle of the night and breaking your sleep.
And, your sleep cycle is, to, what's the word? Your memories, that's where your memories are stored, and if you're not getting that
Yes,
restorative sleep, then your memory is affected because you're not getting um, that storing of the memories if you're awake,
yes.
which happens when you're in it can happen when you're in menopause. I mean, I don't know where no, was your sleep disrupted?
When I had started menopause.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I had lots of night sweats and all that
yeah,
sort of stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, yeah, like sort of hot and cold, really.
yeah,
That's how would describe it. It's so funny because a friend said, she remembered me telling her about it. And I said, "Oh, I didn't think I went through menopause." So I've totally forgotten it. I blocked it out of my memory.
yeah.
It was just so, so I don't know, maybe it was 6 months, because
Yeah,
it can be
okay,
like
that's quite good. Yeah,
6
yeah.
months to 2 years or whatever. 10 years, somebody told me.
Even longer, because sometimes after you go through menopause, you're still having the hot flushes and the night sweats.
Right.
So it's not unheard of for women to be suffering for, 10, 12 years. And that's a long
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
time. Yeah. I mean, when my mum, um, I asked my mum when she went through menopause, she goes, "Oh, I don't know. I
Mm.
don't have any, can't remember." But then talking to her later, she had a hysterectomy.
Yes.
But she had
So
a
did my
full
mother.
hysterectomy. So
Mm.
with her ovaries taken out, which means that she went into
Yes.
surgical menopause, but she was not told
Yes.
anything
Mm.
about it. That was a lot, that was 40 years ago,
Yeah.
42 years ago. So she wasn't, I mean, maybe she was, but maybe didn't probably understand it because there wasn't the information that's
No.
around. And then I said to her, "You would have gone through menopause then, Mum."
Mm.
And she goes, oh, well, yeah, okay. She didn't know. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes. I
I
think.
was only 10 at the time, so I don't remember her being crazy,
Yeah.
for want of a better word. That's not very
Yeah,
nice.
I was a lot younger because my mum had it very early, so I was 6. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So she
okay.
she had to have it, and I did too, because yeah, extreme, periods and stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Which, a lot of that's probably the number one complaint is very heavy,
mm,
unpredictable periods.
yes,
And there's a lot of things that you can do naturally to support your system, because usually the heavy periods come in perimenopause
yeah, right,
because you've got a lot of estrogen and you're
right,
not. The estrogen and progesterone balances out estrogen. So when you're going through perimenopause, sometimes your body's not needing progesterone.
mm.
So you're flooded with estrogen, and that's what causes the heavy periods. And there's a lot of things that you can do naturally to support your reproductive system.
And so, what does progesterone do to your body? Like, what kind of moods do you have when you?
Well, progesterone is like a calming hormone as
Oh, is it?
well.
Okay.
Yes, so it does balance out your moods, and it prepares your uterus for pregnancy.
Yeah.
So as we're getting older, because our body is not always producing an egg, then we don't need the progesterone doesn't need to be produced. But
Mm.
yeah, progesterone is quite a nice hormone, to be
Okay.
around. Yeah. Yep. So
And
a
so
lot
in menopause, you have less progesterone, is that right?
when you're in menopause, you have none because you're not
Mhm.
producing eggs at all anymore. But in
Right.
perimenopause, it's unpredictable because sometimes you are producing an egg and sometimes you're not, but you're still having a period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because my doctor said that even when you have a hysterectomy, you still produce eggs because you've got your ovaries and they're just
Yeah.
absorbed into your body,
Yeah. That's
which is
that.
interesting.
Yeah, you're still having, and that's why they don't take the ovaries out anymore
Yeah.
because it's better to leave them in, and you're still ovulating, but they're not going anywhere. Mm,
Mm,
yeah.
mm.
Yeah, it's really interesting when you start really looking into it. And I mean, I think a lot of us don't even really understand how the menstrual cycle works. I
Yeah.
get a
I
period and that's it.
yeah. Yeah, I remember a boyfriend many years ago didn't understand ovulation and your period time.
Yeah.
And we went to a library and looked at a book, but now you've got Dr. Google, which is very handy, really, to have
Yeah,
that accessible to everybody.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah, there's more information out there.
But again, for the younger girls, when they are going to the doctor with a heavy period, they're often put on the pill.
Yes. Mm,
And that's not ideal because there's women who have been on the pill since they were 16,
yeah.
now nearly 50.
Mm,
That's a long time to be
yeah.
on 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 the pill. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was for a long period of my life, and I think that's maybe what contributed to the later problems. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I have read, and this was from a reputable source, but I can't remember think where it
Wrote it.
was. Yeah. So that when you are on the pill and you suddenly stop, your body goes through a withdrawal
Okay. Yeah.
and have a lot of symptoms. So you might be on the pill, come off it, have a lot of symptoms. This is awful, and need to go back on it. Whereas
Okay.
really it should be a tapering down to come off if you've been on
Yeah.
it for a long time. Mm.
Mm, mm. I also heard that you can work out what age you'll go through menopause by the age that you got your period, the age that you had children, or something like that. There's some kind of formula. I
Maybe. I
yeah.
don't know
I
too
can't
much.
remember the
Yeah.
formula.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to look into that one. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
But, you know, girls are getting their periods younger and younger.
yes.
I mean, yeah, 9 or 10.
Okay.
It's
Mm.
just, yeah, so young. It,
And what do you think that's caused by? Oh, diet?
yeah,
Are
I'm
they
not,
saying that?
um, yeah, it's just,
Because, in our day, we didn't have much
kids are
processed food.
bigger, possibly, but kids are, when I say bigger, I just mean they're taller and they are maturing more quickly. Have you heard of xenoestrogens?
No.
So xeno just means foreign.
Mm-hmm.
So your foreign estrogens, which are found in things like plastics and
Um,
makeup, non-organic makeup, shampoo, pesticides, herbicides,
mm-hmm.
we are getting a lot more exposure to those things. And that the xenoestrogens mimic estrogen in your body.
Okay.
So it could be that. So,
Mm,
avoiding your xenoestrogens as much as possible.
mm.
Yeah.
What about
Correct.
stress? The stress is a good one.
Absolutely. Often, when I work with women and they've had a night sweat or hot flushes, I ask, and they've not been having them, have you been, have you got a lot of stress in your life at the moment? And more often than not, it will be yes, I do. And
And and what causes that? Like you said that you have some clients that have 4 hours sleep.
Mm.
Is it their busy lifestyle? Are they working? Are they mothers? Or what is it that what what do you think contributes to that?
A lot of women are overthinkers.
Okay.
And I mean, that's probably pretty general, but, lying in bed and then they start thinking, but
Mm,
also, um, yeah, not having great sleep habits. So,
yes.
there's
Yeah.
even, again, going back to sleep is,
Having a good routine.
yeah, and a lot of people don't know this, but in the morning, if you go out walking, you should be walking without your sunglasses.
Oh, yeah, melatonin. Yeah.
Yes, that can reset your melatonin. I know I don't mean at like 10 o'clock in the morning, but if you go walking at 7 and the
Mm,
sun's out, then take your glasses off and get that sunlight. Yeah, because that resets your melatonin.
and into your eyes, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Pistachios, a handful of pistachios have a high amount of melatonin.
Okay. And walnuts, I think, are good too.
Um, yeah,
For
possibly.
sleep. Oh, they're good for sleep.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
walnut. Great anytime, I reckon.
Yeah.
Everybody's got stress, and
Yes.
you can't say avoid stress.
No.
Because it's hard to avoid stress, but it's about managing your stress.
How
And
we respond to it.
yet how you respond, how you manage your stress. And again, for a lot of women, they manage their stress with wine,
Yes.
and just counterproductive because that's putting pressure on your body, and it's not helping you sleep better either.
Yeah, and so I think I've heard statistics that say that the increase of women drinking wine has just, yeah, skyrocketed. Um, and I suppose that's to do with maybe the fact that we're in the workforce like years ago, like our mothers uh, possibly weren't in the workforce. Well, mine was, but like there's all the women in these high positions and stuff now, and so there's a lot more stress, and their situations are like that. So they more sociable, and so then they're more exposed to it.
Um, yeah, but when you're drinking alcohol, and again, a lot of women drink alcohol to help them sleep. It's
It
actually
doesn't help you sleep. No,
help you fall asleep quicker, but you're not having a
it.
restorative.
And quite often you'll wake up at 4 a.m. or
Yeah.
round about that time because, yeah, you've fallen to sleep quickly, but it's sort of kind of like comatose sleep, isn't it?
Alcohol is worn off your because alcohol is the only drug that's a stimulant and a depressant at the same time.
Interesting, isn't it? Mm.
And it's also one of the hardest drugs to come off. I think,
Because it's
be-
so normalized, like you're saying.
yeah, and physical symptoms. If someone is
Mm.
drinking every day and they are dependent on alcohol, and if they were to stop drinking alcohol, that's really dangerous and they can die. They
Mhm.
to be in a supervised program. That's how potent alcohol actually is. Yeah.
And why is that? What happens to their body?
Just withdrawal symptoms, and sometimes their organs will shut down.
I mean, there's obviously better ways to deal with your stress, like meditation, which some people find very difficult to do. But just a walk in nature or something calming like a bath or hot bath or,
Um,
simple things like that.
I would have never thought I would be a person who would meditate,
Mm,
but here I am. I don't do it every day, but
yeah.
I think some people think you
Overthink it.
need 45 minutes. I say to people, sometimes it's just 2 minutes, 5 minutes.
Yes.
Doesn't have to.
Yeah, just something contemplative. Yeah.
Yep, and even walking, without your headphones in,
Mm,
just, walking barefoot on the ground. But whatever you find relaxing, where you're sort of taken, where you're just mesmerized in what you're doing, is
Mm, yes. Mm,
yeah. Yep. So finding some good strategies that help you manage your stress, and
exactly. Yeah.
not an ideal one. And, a lot of people will turn to food when they're stressed.
Yes.
And that's not ideal either. So, um,
Yes. So we often eat for other reasons than being hungry. And I did a program, and he talks about six hungers.
mm,
Um, there's the first one is actually water. You're actually thirsty.
yep. Yep. And
Mm.
again, when you're dehydrated, um, that can make you hungry as well.
Yes.
So, yeah,
And yeah, not having enough sleep and all yeah, lots of different things. And sugar, addictions. Like if you eat a lot of sugar, then you'll want to keep
mm,
eating it. It's like very addictive.
yeah. And, things like patting your pet is a
Yes, yeah.
well-known stress busters out there. Breath work.
Yes. Yeah, we forget about breathing, and it's the first thing that we do when we're born. We take in a breath and we breathe out a breath. And yeah, just simple box breathing, when you breathe in for the count, the same
Yep.
count as out, and then hold your breath. And pauses, actually, they have said in my yoga classes, they've said that actually can increase your life. Like, yeah,
Absolutely. And it's
your
something
quality. Mm.
you can do that anywhere. Any
Exactly. Yeah, you don't need anything to do it.
It's probably one of the best stress management tools that I talk to my clients about. And, teaching your kids to how they're going to manage their stress as well, because, there's it's a can be a big cruel world out there. So,
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And they say that this generation is, the most stressed out.
yeah.
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 And I think part of that is all the electronic devices that they're just a big part of their lives. Like if you tried to take a phone from a teenager,
It's
you'd
like,
have war on your hands.
um yeah, because they're constantly getting that dopamine hit.
So then how does it affect your body, all of this stress? And like as far as like, well, we know that stress can cause weight gain. I
Yeah.
mean, some people stress can cause weight loss, can't it?
The reason behind that, the people who are gaining weight, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because when you have a lot of cortisol in your system, it can signal insulin. So then you get sugar cravings.
Yeah.
Once you start feeding the sugar and your blood sugar's going up, then you want more sugar. So,
Yeah.
and then, yeah, so that's the people who are gaining weight. They're often overeating without realizing. And again, being tired, it causes stress and overeating. So it's just all a big, yeah. And, with hormones, when one hormone is out, others will be, they work together.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
And what's ghrelin? What's that? That's a
Oh,
hormone.
yeah, that's a hunger hormone. So ghrelin is your
Yeah.
hunger, and the way I remember it is grr for grumble. Your tummy's grumbling. So
Oh,
ghrelin
yes.
to tell you need to eat.
Hmm.
And leptin signals when you're full. So there have been studies where if you've got someone who's overweight, you would probably think that their ghrelin is overregulated.
Hmm.
It's actually underregulated, and it's the leptin that's not kicking in when it should. When you are trying to lose weight, your ghrelin can go into overdrive as well. So when your calories go too low, then your body's producing more ghrelin, you're getting hungrier and hungrier.
Mm. Mm.
So it's a very delicate balance with all these hormones.
So, like when you have too much sugar, it's like a stress on your pancreas. Is that right?
Yeah. So whenever you eat carbohydrate, which
Mm.
is eventually broken down
Sugar.
to your pancreas produces insulin.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are eating a lot of sugar, your body's just pumping out insulin, and over time it can stop being as effective. So have you heard of insulin resistance?
Yeah.
So that's when your insulin is no longer effective. So insulin's job is to come along in the bloodstream and take the glucose to the cell for energy. But if you've got insulin resistance, then that's not happening.
Mm.
So despite eating carbohydrate, it's not going into the cell. So you crave more sugar.
Yeah. Right. Mm. It's a
Yeah,
vicious cycle.
it is. Yeah. And then you have insulin, cortisol, and estrogen. They're all quite tightly knit together. So yeah, managing stress in menopause is probably up there number one with sleep, and it's
Mm.
often the things that we're not looking at. Mm.
Yeah. Do you believe in intermittent fasting?
Okay, I get asked this a lot, and again, I've done a lot of research and into it, and there's nothing wrong with it. And what I say to people is, if it suits your lifestyle, then you do that time you're eating. So it's decreasing your calorie intake. However, you could still do intermittent fasting and eat too much.
For me, it's really good. Like I can lose weight and
Yeah,
feel good. Because like people think that you get energy from food. We do get energy from food, but you don't get energy as in like you want to get up and do something. You normally feel really quite,
I guess.
bogged down after you've just eaten. And so yeah, when you do some intermittent fasting, then your body is sort of cleaned out, and it's actually can sometimes feel a little more energy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it's good for me because but I only ever do it for 24 hours. Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is as we get older as women, I've been told that you really only need 2 meals a day. Like I very rarely have breakfast. It's more like brunch, and my body doesn't need more than that.
Yeah. And it's about knowing your body
And
then. And
also that it's the size of a fist.
yeah.
Your stomach that's how big it is, and we should actually just be eating that amount, but we don't. We eat more than that.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's a little, a little bit different because you're in a different phase of your life. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
but
Yeah, they'd say I was a neglectful mother if I
everyone
if I
really
just
does.
said, "Oh, bad luck, you're not getting dinner tonight."
But yeah, because I get up early and I exercise, then I want to eat after I've exercised. So,
Ah, yes. And that's the best time to eat, isn't it? They say, because you will burn it.
well, you've depleted all
Ready.
your oxygen stores, and your body is just ready to take that energy to the cell, and
Yeah.
not any left over to be stored as fat.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the biggest.
And also recognizing that our bodies change over time. And
Mm,
so we can't that we're definitely not eating what we did when we were a teenager, like you said just then. Yeah.
well, I don't
Like
know who's got teenage boys.
oh yeah.
They
Teenage boys are hollowless, aren't they?
Well, friends of mine say we go through like um 3 loaves of bread a day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got girls and are not big eaters, so but they do love their bread, and they need their carbohydrates there because they're growing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, like for women, how does that affect your libido? What's your experience or your studies shown?
Well, I think again it depends on the person, but I do hear a lot of women say that they just don't feel like being intimate with their partner, and it could be, I feel like there's a few things going on there. If
Yeah.
they may not be feeling great about themselves, and
Yeah,
when you don't feel great about yourself, you don't really want to, you know,
exactly. And that body image, yeah, like that you do put on weight when well, a lot of the time, women in menopause put on weight.
yeah,
And so then you start to, yeah, feel bad about yourself and how you feel. And yeah, your sexuality is very connected to your body image.
yeah, for sure. And all, but uh, physically, your vagina can be quite dry.
Oh, yes.
So that's, and that makes it uncomfortable. So if someone is still, wanting to be sexual, then it's about using some lubrication
Mm.
that's
And
comfortable.
yeah. Mm.
And I've heard other women say
Is
that
that
they're,
is that the progesterone? Is that the lack of progesterone that makes that happen? Or
not
what
too
or
sure. I think it's to do because estrogen is involved in your skin, connective tissue and things like that. So when estrogen is being unpredictable.
yeah.
So, but then I've heard other women say that their libido has increased.
Yeah.
So it's,
And is that maybe that's to do with like the fact that you're not concerned about getting pregnant? Like that you're free. You're actually like when I had my hysterectomy, I actually it felt like liberation to me.
you're not, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I can do it anytime I like.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, it's probably a lot of factors. It's the physical things, the emotional, yeah, how you feel about yourself.
Mm.
Yeah. And yeah.
And
Um,
so that can have an effect on your relationship then, of course. And hormones can change your moods too.
yeah, definitely. Definitely. Absolutely. Without the progesterone. So progesterone is sort of your calming hormone.
Mm.
Without progesterone, moods can be, you can be quite moody. And
Mm.
again, if you're not sleeping, that's going to affect your mood. If you're stressed, so everything works in together. So
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
So then how come men aren't moody if they have lots of progesterone?
Well, they don't.
Oh,
They
they don't
only
have progesterone.
because that progesterone is. They might have a little bit. No, I don't know. They don't.
They have testosterone,
Yeah,
basically. Mm.
which we have as well.
Right.
Women as well, but not as much as men. Yeah. So
Mm.
that men do go through their kind of own, some men, because they do start to lose testosterone as time goes on.
When you have a baby, what what hormones are going on then?
Well, you don't have any progesterone.
Mhm.
Uh,
That's
lots of
interesting.
going on. Yeah. So, well, because progesterone's only needed to helps hold the egg in place,
Mm.
makes the uterus sticky, for want of a better word. Um, yeah, but you're not producing estrogen because you're not
Mm.
um, releasing eggs.
Mm.
It's really, it's fascinating the
Very
body
complex, isn't it?
and yeah, sometimes, I mean, the body is the most amazing, intricate machine.
Yeah.
But just going back to the men,
Mm.
I've um, I've had a couple of men ask me how to support their partner in menopause
Yes.
think it's really lovely
Yeah.
because women, we don't know. A lot of women don't really understand menopause, and men have got no idea. Men think is that women go a little bit crazy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
Because just knowing how to support your partner. And
Mm, yeah. I think that's nice that the men want to support their women in that understanding,
nice because just and again, my husband as well, he noticed when I was always due for my period because I'm
Mm,
really emotional,
yeah.
down, and he'd always remind me, I think you must be getting your period. And I'd be like, oh yes, that's what it is. And
Yeah.
just, yeah, reminding yourself it's just a phase that you got.
Mm,
And yeah, I think it's really nice that partners, husbands want to support their women
mm.
going through, um, just being there and listening, and yeah, maybe noticing when your partner's a little bit more tired, but it goes both ways as well, I guess. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, well, I would say that actually my husband, as he's got older, is actually more feminine and in
Yeah.
touch with his emotions. So maybe he's lost a bit of his testosterone or something. I'm not sure. Oh, yeah. So when you're aging, yeah, your hormones are constantly changing.
Yeah.
And
But
how do you adapt to that?
a lot of women say that once you've gone through menopause, things settle down.
So also going back to the body image stuff, like for younger people, like having, the initial stages of menopause when you put on weight and things happen. Like, do you think that our society is changing in regard to body image, or do you think it's still a little bit stuck in the past? Like, I
I-
just think about this whole Barbie phenomenon. Like, my mother actually wouldn't let us have a Barbie because she said that it was an unrealistic image of a woman.
Yeah, okay. Sometimes I feel like body image is probably worse for
Mm,
it. There's that polar difference. There's
mm,
sense of your,
yes.
but then there's also that social media and the young girls seeing the images of airbrushed and
Mm.
filtered, and that's unrealistic expectations. Yeah, because it's every body image is just flashed in your face, and the that
That's what they say about like porn too for men, that it's actually a brain addiction, that it's the thing that they see when they see it. They're seeing what's happening now that I've heard is that they're seeing multiple images changing, constantly changing. And so they're seeing something like, 1,000 or 10,000 sexual images. Whereas in the past, there was no internet, there was nothing like that. So they might have been with 30 women in their whole life, if that.
yeah, but yeah, and then you think about the young boys, if they've seen pornography before they've been sexual, what their expectations are. If
And it's
they think,
also disassociated too.
yeah, sorry, I've
They're
had a job.
not they're not in it. Yeah.
Mm.
What do you do for your girls, like when you teach them about how the body is growing?
Well, we're pretty open. They're quite comfortable, you know, who they are. So, yeah, and around them, I don't talk about my weight and being
Right.
unhappy. And yeah, so
Mm,
in that respect, because I think that's can be damaging. And also, a lot of women, some women are doing unrealistic dieting in front of their children,
Mm,
and in that setting a bad example
mm.
because I don't want my kids growing up thinking that it's normal to have shakes for breakfast and lunch. And one of the sayings in the diet industry, because I've done a bit of work with the Australian Centre for Eating Disorders,
Mm.
and the motto was, the younger you get people in, you have them for life. So if
Of
you get
course.
someone dieting at the age of 10, then they'll be with you for life
Yeah.
because they'll continue that cycle of dieting.
And it's like they can't trust themselves anymore. They have to trust somebody else. They have to listen to someone else's advice.
Yeah, and I see it sometimes when people go, "Oh, can I eat this?" And where my motto is, I want to empower you where you don't have to ask me. You'll be asking yourself, do I want to have this?
Mm.
Because realistically, you can eat whatever you want to, as long as you're not allergic to it.
Yeah.
When people, it's disempowering for them to be, "Oh, can I eat this?" They have to ask me.
Mm.
You can eat whatever you want.
How does it make you feel?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And understanding the reasons why people might overeat on certain foods. And again,
Mm.
it's all conditioned from.
And sometimes we can have like food regret. So like it's always interesting to notice like how you felt before you had it. Like it's like they say it's like sex. You think about it's anticipation that's actually the most enjoyable. You think about eating something and then while you're eating it, you're thinking, oh, maybe I don't really want this. And then afterwards you feel bad. And then an hour later you feel even worse. And so then you shouldn't have had it, maybe.
Yeah, and I say to people, if you've eaten, and this is the great thing about eating well and regularly, is if you've eaten a good meal and then an hour later you're hungry, it's not hunger, it's a craving.
So was there ever a time that so you said you've never said in front of your girls, like I'm on a diet or, I feel bad, like my body looks terrible or, like having that bad self body image. Um, so was there a time earlier before you were married, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I probably didn't really think about my body image growing up, and it never really occurred to me. I never was
You
unhappy.
you were quite sporty, were you?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because I was quite small,
Okay.
and I don't know if it's because I just, I was never needed to lose weight, if that's
Yeah.
why I had the body image, because I did have a friend who was a little bit bigger, not, but I don't think she had as great a body image.
Yeah.
But I never was really conscious of my body as being whether I liked it or not until I was in my 20s.
Mm.
And I started to be conscious of it, which is quite late, really, to be conscious of my body. So in my early 20s, yeah, I definitely had some disordered eating habits and wanting to be skinnier and skinnier because, boys, well, men
Mm.
child, saying, I think what a trigger for me was a boyfriend telling me that I needed to lose weight. And
Mm.
I would have been I wouldn't have been any more than 55 kilos.
Oh my
Which
God. That's ridiculous.
pretty happy with. I'm fit and I'm healthy.
Exactly. Mm.
As you know, I think as you get older, what you want changes. Like maybe when you're younger, it's about being thinner. And then as you get older, it's about moving better and sleeping well and being able to do things. And then I'm sure as I get older again, it's going to be moving well, and can I do things still? That will be the goal. Yeah.
What's something that do you think has kept you in a long relationship?
I think just having your own identity.
Mm.
And I mean, Rob and I have our own friends, but we also have friends together. He's always supported my fitness because the gym to me has been something I've done for a long time, and he has never stopped me from wanting to do that, or he's always respected that my gym time means a lot to me mentally, more mentally. So he's always been supportive of that. It's like fitness is, you don't start at the top, you work your way into it.
Mm.
And yeah, yoga is, people will say to me, oh, that I'm really fit. But I'm like, well, actually, if I look at it, I do neglect my flexibility. So yeah, I'm fit in one way, but I don't have a great overall fitness. I like walking with people, and I like walking now.
Mm.
And again, I sometimes, if I've only got 10 minutes, I'll do a quick walk. Whereas people, you need to have an hour to do a walk. Well, you don't. 10
No.
minutes is nothing. And sometimes I'll just walk around the block.
And they
And that,
say that actually walking with a friend's really good because when you're talking and walking, it's actually really good to get a little bit puffed.
yeah. I
Mm.
would much rather catch up with a friend and go for a walk than catch up with a friend and sit over coffee.
Mm. And what would you say your values are in your relationship?
Uh, in my relationship, and that always changes as well, I
Mm.
think. Definitely is trust is a big one, and respect. Trust, respect, independence. So not being, having still being independent. So doing your own thing. Friendship and humor is actually really important to me.
Mm.
Being able to laugh and have a bit of a joke and feel like a kid again. Yeah, humor is in my definitely top values for a relationship.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what your values are in relationship?
Communication.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good one too. Yeah. Mm.
And trust is definitely there.
Yeah.
And that goes both ways. So yeah, I have of course it does, like that's what your partner is your projection. Connection is in a sense like when you're together, you're connecting in a physical way. And I mean, when I mean that, I don't necessarily mean sexual, can be just a sensual way. Like I think sensuality is really important to touch. And if you notice when you touch somebody and you say something, it has a different effect to just saying something.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Mm. And so that's that connection that makes that so strong. Yeah. And truth, which is something that I resisted a while back because I wasn't probably being that truthful. But yeah, truthfulness is very important to me, and integrity. Yeah, like it's kind of like my life ones, but yeah.
Yeah. And interesting what you said about projection is, if you dislike something in your partner, it's really just a reflection of you, not them.
Yeah.
And working, if you're not happy, a lot of the time it's working on yourself,
Mm.
not your partner. And yeah, communication is a big one. And it's a team effort, a
Yes.
relationship. Mm. And not being afraid to talk about how you want things to be, because, well, you only get one chance at it,
Yeah.
even, with that person. So I feel like it's easy for people to give up too
Mm.
soon, not put in the effort.
Yeah, and I wonder about that, you're frightened to say something. What is that about? Like, what could possibly happen?
Mm,
Like it's your intimate partner, and yet there are people that don't talk really openly with their partner. And what are they afraid of? Like, yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
But
So
I know I've been guilty of not completely, my needs.
have you read the book? You probably would have, The Love Languages.
No, I'm aware of it, and I know, we've done the tests, but yeah, I haven't got any of the books.
And my love language is acts of service.
Right.
Is an, and my husband's is I think it's called physical touch, or might be intimacy, which I
Mhm.
knew his number one, but that was like down the bottom of mine.
Mm.
It's quite interesting, really. Yeah. Mm.
Yes, and so I suppose that's a matter of it's like taking in turns, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
being able to, like, because we all have them all, but it's just like one is more dominant, and so if you're able to, like, be that for them, sometimes like they could be that for us.
Yeah, because it's not a one-way street, is it? It's not
Mm.
just us, it's about them
Mm.
as well. Yeah. Yeah, and having your own interests as well is
Yes,
important,
autonomy. Yeah.
as well as some shared interests.
Mm. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Those are some of the things that came up in when I did a survey
Okay,
with
yeah.
couples. Yeah.
Mm.
Shared experiences, shared interests. Yeah. Or goals together.
Yep, having goals together. And it always surprises me how um, some people don't have any goals at all. And yeah, I just find, well, because I've always set goals, and they don't always have to be big goals.
What sort of goals?
Uh well, I have usually a fitness goal. I love New Year because I love setting goals, and I usually achieve them, if not fully some. And when I go, when I find a notebook from 5 years ago and I go back to a few years there, they were the same goal, just, pretty standard, pretty stock standard. But yeah, I usually reach my goals yeah. So
That's amazing.
yeah, couple goals. Yeah, things, that we want to do, or where we might want to go. Yeah. Financial goals, so
Mm.
that we can do what we want, basically, and be comfortable.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, well, I think we need to reset some new goals, actually.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we do this thing called Radar, which we learnt on a multi-amory podcast. Set aside some time to do it. Yeah, on a day. You put it in the calendar so that it happens.
I guess it's making your relationship a priority,
Yes. Yeah.
is taking that time. And we try and have date night.
Yeah.
A lot of the time we can't be bothered, so going anywhere, which is fine because it's still date
Yeah.
night. But we get a bit more time together now because our kids are older, even though they're at home. They really
Mm.
don't want to hang out with you.
Yeah, that definitely changes the relationship. Your children's age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. less or more independent.
Yeah. I think nutrition has always been really interesting to me too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating, but it's also so simple as well.
It's mind body stuff too, like it's not just not the food, and it's not just, yeah, it's everything, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's great to eat healthy, but you also want to. Food is more than just energy. It's or fuel. It's also um, connection, and you've got to have room for soul foods, foods that you love, and can't always be eating healthy. I mean, you can, but it's I think life's a bit short for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, it's like the Dalai Lama says he eats from the begging bowl. So it means, like, my mother took on this idea. So she was a vegetarian, but if somebody offered her something that they graciously cooked and put all their love into, then she would eat it if it had meat or something like that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, right.
That's what it means, yeah. So you just accept it graciously, and yeah, you eat it because they've gone to a lot of trouble and done that for you. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. This has been very enlightening. I've
Yeah,
enjoyed it
uh,
immensely.
really nice. Thank you for having me. And I love talking about hormones. I love talking about
Mm.
food. It really, yeah, it really lights me up. I could just talk because I've learnt so much, and I still learn new things all the time.